all we do in example 19 is we try to determine the equations finding it from a graph. And again, I just find it much easier if we use those four table or those four columns or 4 blocks, 8 blocks to calculate what we are getting. So what I'm going to do to find one is I'm going to start by drawing the top. Just want to put on a line. I'm going to draw top. That's where it finishes. I'm going to look for one revolution. So it starts here, finish there. Okay, so it starts there, finish there. So that is one period. And that's why I'm going to draw it in my block. So I find one period, and I'm going to draw it there, there, and there. Okay, and there's my in the middle. There's the middle, there's the middle, and there's the middle. And from that, I can now quickly see what happens. The first thing I'm looking for is what type of graph is this. Now, this looks, if I start at a negative, it is a reflected graph. So it means it's negative a, and it looks like a cos graph. So I'm going to say y equals a cos of b x minus c plus d. Now, if you can remember you need to say why you say whatever you say. Now, we can say there's a reflection, so I'm going to say A equals, I'm going to start with by D, because D is what we have in the middle. Remember, D is my equilibrium. So I'm going to say equilibrium is 0, therefore D equals 0. I have horizontal movement, I have a reflection. I can see A is reflected. I'm going to say graph is a reflection. Graph is a reflection. Therefore, A is negative, and the amplitude negative 2. No, sorry, A equals negative. No, not A equals negative. A is negative. Amplitude is 2. Right, so that is 2. So what do I have? A is negative 2, and I can see D equals 0. My graph is where it starts. So where it starts, where this block of mine start, equals 0. I'm going to say horizontal, no horizontal, no horizontal, no horizontal. Sorry, I'm in a rush, and that's why my writing is so ugly. No horizontal, no horizontal, whatever it's called, no horizontal transformation, therefore this is C equals 0. So C equals 0. The only other thing that we need to know is B, and the B value is my period. So I'm going to say period equals, my period is 2 pi over B. Now my period in this case starts at 0 and it goes all the way to 4 pi. So 2 pi equals over B, 2 pi over B equals 4 pi, because that is how far it is from there to where it repeats itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply B both sides. If I cross multiply, I'm going to have 4 pi equals 4 pi B equals 2 pi. I'm going to divide by 4 pi on both sides. So B will equal, pi's cancel, 2 on himself once, B is a half. So B equals a half. So what's my equation? My equation will be y equals negative the cos of B. B is a half x. There's no C, there's no D, so that is my one graph. Y equals, why did I say amplitude is 2? That's a lie. Thank you for, the amplitude is actually 4. Because that is 4, not 2, that is 4. So, sorry, that is 4. Right, so my graph should be minus A. This will be minus 4 cos of a half x. Okay, take pictures, write it down, because I'm going to now take my big eraser and I'm going to erase all of this. And we're going to see what, because I asked for 2 different ways and I don't have more place to write. So suck it up and rewind or do whatever you need to do. Okay, my next one is, now we said that cos and sine is only out of shift. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this as a sine graph, and I'm not going to start halfway. There's been many answers. I can start there, but it will be silly. I'm going to start where it intercepts. So I'm going to draw my first line there. I'm going to go past, past, past. There's my middle, there's my middle, there's my middle, and there's my middle. So this graph will just keep on going that way. Now, what I will do, we can see that my period is still the same thing. So if I look at sine, I'm going to now say y equals a sine of b x minus c plus d. Okay, amplitude equals, the amplitude is still 4. It's positive, so it's not reflected. So a is 4. There's no, you need to write down. A is 4. D equals 0. The reason D is 0 is equilibrium is 0. Equilibrium is 0. Amplitude is 4. You can say there's a factor 4 in direction of the y-axis. Dilation. I then have to talk about my period. We can see the period's the same. Remember, it's from where it starts to where it finishes. And if this is pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, then this should be 5 pi. The period is still the same. I'm going to say I'm going to say period is 2 pi over b, and that equals 4 pi. And then b equals a half. So b is still a half. What we need to find now is the horizontal movement, and my horizontal movement is where my graph starts. So c equals pi. And the reason I say c is pi is because there was a horizontal movement or horizontal translation of pi units to the right. So what's my equation? Y equals a, it's not reflected because a starts and goes up. So a is going to be 4 sine of b equals a half. X, I've moved into the right direction, so it will be minus pi because it went that's where my graph starts. And I'm going to say plus d. There's no plus d, so because my d is 0. So the 2 equations I could have was y equals 4 sine half of x minus pi, or the other one that we found earlier was y equals 4 cos of a half x. And if you draw that in your graphics calculators, you can see that it gives you the same answer.